Let me ask you guys a question. Have you wondered why Square Enix is being so quiet when it comes to Dragon Quest XII and what is happening with this game? Well, I do think that this video will give you a little bit more light on what's happening, and I'll also give my own perspective on covering Nintendo and Dragon Quest over the years, because I do think that there's some big things brewing when it comes to the re-reveal or the first actual reveal of Dragon Quest XII, and it looks like Mr. Yuji Horii has a bit more to say about that, and I do think that it does involve the Nintendo Switch 2. So we're going to talk about that and a bunch of other topics, like how about Kirby Planet Robobot on the Nintendo Switch. Yeah, we got some more information on that. Potential Nintendo Direct for February, or maybe not. Got some updates on that as well. But let's go ahead and jump into this with this big RPG news overall with Dragon Quest XII. What is happening with this game? Why did they drop a trailer years ago and have shown absolutely nothing since then? Well, here's what Mr. Yuji Horii had to say in a recent discussion, and on YouTube, he says that yes, Dragon Quest XII still exists. Quote, "There are still a lot of things I can't talk about, but for now, I can say that we're working on Dragon Quest 1 and Dragon Quest 2 Remake, and working hard on Dragon Quest XII. Hopefully, we'll be able to share more info little by little." So this is very interesting to me because my buddy Stealth over on Twitter had the same idea that I've had, but also reiterated it with this recent interview or this recent update for Dragon Quest XII, and he says, "I'm almost expecting it to be confirmed for Switch 2 during the Switch 2 Direct. I think there's a decent chance it shows up. Dragon Quest XII coming to Switch 2 is more important than Final Fantasy VII Remake / Rebirth ports or any other game that has been rumored so far. Square needs to launch it on the most popular system in Japan, and let's face it, that will probably be the Switch 2 for the next 5 years plus." And this is what I've been saying for quite some time. People don't realize the metamorphosis that's happened in Japan that's never been there before. Even with the DS days, or even with the Game Boy Advance, or even with some of these other systems, there's been more of an influence and penetration of other platforms in Japan in these sales charts. Yes, Nintendo's usually dominated overall, but it's never been this bad in terms of things. It's never been in terms of bad, as in Nintendo's market share in Japan has never been this high. The threshold is almost, I wouldn't say 100%, but it's very close to being that. The Nintendo Switch has completely dominated the rest of the system. So if you're planning or if you're getting ready to launch a big, expensive, brand new game, I mean, the PlayStation 5, if you're just going to launch it on that, is not going to cut it, considering a large portion of Dragon Quest sales come from Japan. You even look at Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D Remake, look at the sales difference between the Switch and the PlayStation 5. Clearly, there is a massive difference on people wanting it on the Nintendo Switch, so I wouldn't be surprised if Dragon Quest 12 is a cross-gen type of game where you can get it on the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch 2, in addition to PlayStation 5, Xbox, PC, and other places. Very similar to how we saw with Dragon Quest 11, where there was a specific made Nintendo 3DS version, in addition to a PlayStation 4 version, and then of course an individually made Nintendo Switch version of the game. So I do feel that that could happen, or they could go in a different route, but I do think, like Stealth says here, for the next 5+ years, almost near instantly, the Nintendo Switch 2 will be the dominating system in Japan based off of all the metrics that we've seen so far. So absolutely, they're probably holding back on this one to reveal it with the Nintendo Switch 2, and that's why we haven't heard about it much. I think that's one of the big things. Nintendo has done this before with Square Enix, Dragon Quest 9 on the Nintendo DS, Dragon Quest 10 on the Nintendo Wii, Dragon Quest even 11 on the Nintendo Switch, or NX at the time. That was one of the first, if not the first game announced for the system. So I do feel that there will be a re-reveal of this game. It's absolutely going to be on the Nintendo Switch 2, and I think that's going to be huge. And what Stealth says here is that it actually is more important than Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth, considering how huge Dragon Quest is and the amount of systems that it can help move with the platforms that it does launch on. This is a super important game overall for the Nintendo Switch 2 and for Square Enix going forward. So yeah, finish up Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake, and then of course head into what you're going to talk about probably at the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct with Dragon Quest 12. So this is absolutely going to be a very special game, and I think that it's going to be massive. But you know what else is very special? You, the viewer, you guys that are watching this channel right now, especially those who are not subscribed yet. You're special, and you should do yourself a favor and subscribe to the channel to get the latest updates when it comes to Nintendo Switch 2. Hit that like button, click the notification bell so you can get my vids as soon as they drop. Now let's go ahead and jump right into the next topic here, guys. And we're going to be discussing, is there potentially a black market Nintendo Switch 2 out there? We've discussed this topic a little bit, but it seems like it gets a bit more serious here based off of some talk on the internet. Now, Mr. Necro Felipe discussed this because he stated on Twitter, user who previously shared Switch 2 CAD model on a Chinese forum claims that he now has obtained a real Switch 2, probably illegally. He advises those interested in accessories to contact him for testing with the device. So very interesting there. Looks like there are some black market Nintendo Switches out there, at least at this point. We got the report before, and clearly there's somebody out there. I was using the AI backgrounds to actually hold up a Switch so they wouldn't find out where they were at. So there are people who have one, I guess, outside of Nintendo's control overall, probably off of a production line or something like that. So yeah, this is definitely believable. And yeah, it's one of those things where it's getting closer to release. I mean, this type of stuff happens when you're launching a system, and when it gets close to release, Nintendo's been producing a ton of these systems. So it really would not surprise me if a few slip through the cracks when it comes down to the manufacturing and all of that. And this has happened before. So yeah, very interesting, but at the same time, it's going to happen. We're getting closer and closer to the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, closer and closer to the actual launch of the system, which I'm estimating is going to be probably around June or so if you follow the Nintendo Switch 1 timeline. So far, Nintendo's still on that Switch 1 timeline from first initial reveal to the actual more blowout in details. So it does seem like June or so is right about when the Nintendo Switch 2 will be launching. So we'll see what happens on April 2nd with that big direct. I'm guessing pre-orders will go live right after that. But let's talk about some games even for the Nintendo Switch 1, which of course backwards compatible. You'll be able to play on your Nintendo Switch 2 as well, because Nate the Hate has doubled down on Kirby Planet Robobot, one of the best Nintendo 3DS titles, one of the best Kirby games, is still heading to Nintendo Switch this year. So video game leaker Nate the Hate has reiterated on social media platform X/Twitter that the action-packed Kirby Planet Robobot is still destined to receive a Nintendo Switch port. Nintendo has not announced a Switch version at this point. That's very important to throw out there, of the acclaimed Nintendo 3DS game, but with the release of the Nintendo Switch 2 looming, it seems a good choice to receive a port to the current Nintendo Switch platform. So on Twitter, Mr. Tosanu, I don't know how to say his name, he says, so ignoring if a February Direct is coming out or not, that Kirby port is coming nonetheless, huh? I think you mentioned it in a podcast, and Nate the Hate says, correct. Planet Robobot will find its way to Switch. So yeah, this is definitely something to where, you know, people have been talking about, and we're going to discuss in just a bit here what's happening with the Nintendo Switch 1 and a potential Nintendo Direct or not. But I mean, Kirby Planet Robobot is a game that absolutely needs to come over. There are a number of high-profile Nintendo 3DS games. There are really great titles that absolutely need to come over to Nintendo Switch, or there needs to be an NSO or something, because it just seems like a criminal type of situation that so many great games are locked away on that platform and no way to officially buy them overall, because the eShop has been shut down. And of course you can go with physical, but it's secondhand retailers and all that, and secondhand sellers, so that's not consistent either. So definitely getting over the best Nintendo 3DS games on the Nintendo Switch should absolutely be a priority, and I hope that Nintendo has a team or has some type of initiative to get that done. A Link Between Worlds, that still needs to come over. There's Fire Emblem games that still need to come over. Nintendo has not done a lot in the 3DS to Switch realm. They've done a few games here and there, but for the most part, the large majority of fantastic games that are on the Nintendo 3DS are just on the Nintendo 3DS, a dead platform at this point. So I'm really hoping that Nintendo has something planned when it comes to an NSO tier, or when it comes to a dedicated team that's going to periodically bring over the best Nintendo 3DS games to Switch and to Switch 2, or whatever it's backwards compatible, so it doesn't really matter, but just bring these games over. Kirby Planet Robobot is a good game, but we need a Link Between Worlds. We still need that game. There's so many great things. So it looks like Nate is doubling down on this. So if he's doubling down, I'm pretty sure that he's very confident that it's still going to be happening. But exactly how is it going to happen? That's the thing that people are not really sure about in terms of how Nintendo is going to announce it, because Mr. Nate the Hate once again is saying that he's not sure if there is a rumored February Direct. That's been the big thing. He's kind of hinted at there could be something in February, but he has not been informed about this Nintendo Direct. Now, there's another thing when it comes to Twitter. He talked about it again, Mr. Tosamu, or whatever the name is on Twitter. He asked Nate about it, and Nate had this to say about a February Direct that's been rumored so far. I have nothing to share beyond there being rumored talk of a February Direct. I haven't heard anything about one or when one may happen. I'm currently in the dark on whether a February Direct will come to be or not. So very interesting, because there was a rumor. He's also insinuated or hinted that maybe there could be something. But remember, he did state that, hey, look, he thinks. He didn't say that it was 100% and he knows for sure it's coming or anything like that. So we also have to keep that into consideration. Now, here's the thing though. Mr. PH Brazil has doubled down on how he feels based on his information that there will be a February Direct. PH Brazil had this to say on the forum and said about the Direct: I'll keep looking into things, and in case I learn of anything that contradicts what I've said previously, I'll be open with it as I've always been. Regardless, as far as I'm aware, I was the only person who knew and talked about the August Direct last year all the way to the day it was announced. So from my perspective, what's happening now isn't enough to make me doubt my sources yet. He also stated that he's not really worried about this whole thing that's happened between like him and Nate the Hate. Apparently there are some people that are kind of trying to put them against each other and all of that, because they might have some discerning or sometimes conflicting views, because obviously Nate has come out and said, I don't know anything. PH Brazil is now doubling down, and there's been some things, and I do think that PH Brazil, he's right about what happened last year. He was pretty much the only one that was saying, hey, look, there was going to be a Direct, and going all the way through saying that. There were people that were saying, no, it's not going to happen. It kind of came out a bit later, and he ended up being right about that. Now, he has been wrong on a number of things before, so it's not like he's gotten every single thing right. And when he's wrong, he'll take a L when he's wrong overall, but it does seem like, hey, there could still be a Nintendo Direct. We have to wait and see. It's a short month, guys. This month doesn't last too much longer. We're already pretty much in the middle of the month so far here. So I do think that if it's going to happen, it's going to be announced sometime within the next week or so. I don't think Nintendo would wait till the last week of February to do it, but they just might. So maybe we'll see something announced next week at this point. But we're still going to have to wait and see overall. Now, remember, I do have a video. If Nintendo does have a Direct, I have a video going over all the different games that we could see at that show. There's still a number of games that Nintendo could reveal for the Nintendo Switch 1 this year before the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out, or simply just released on Nintendo Switch 1 and Nintendo Switch 2 or backwards compatible. So stuff like the Fire Emblem 4 remake, which Nate the Hate says that is still a thing, in addition to stuff like Metroid Prime 2, Metroid Prime 3, The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD, obviously Kirby Planet Robobot, like we talked about. There's still a number of games that Nintendo can release for the Switch 1. So how are they going to talk about those? How are they going to release those? What's going to be the avenue about it? The Nintendo Switch 2 Direct is fastly approaching already, so if they're going to get something done with Nintendo Switch 1, it's going to have to be before that Direct, unless they have a blended Direct to do later in the year, like let's say like around the summertime, usually around the E3 or formerly E3 time. If they have a Direct then they can kind of blend it together with Switch 2 and Switch 1 games, which Nintendo did before when it comes to the Nintendo Directs that were in 2017 and 2018 with the Nintendo Switch 1 and the Nintendo 3DS. So it could be a blended thing as well. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But overall, I'm super excited to see what Nintendo has for this year. I think that it's going to be a big bounce back year when it comes to Nintendo games and reveals, because of the Nintendo Switch 2 and of course the last Nintendo Switch 1 games coming out. So what do you guys think overall when it comes to everything that we discussed here with the Nintendo Switch, Nintendo Switch 2, Dragon Quest, and the different games, let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch RPG news and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.